We'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. I want to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. As a council and a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on April 16th, 2025 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no delegations this evening. We'll move right into public hearings. I'll open public hearing for 2025 financial plan and first reading of tax levy bylaw 25-8777. I'll ask if there is anyone here. Oh, you do it first. You don't think they read it ahead of time? Just kidding. No, go ahead. We'll invite you, Councillor Massey, to the podium. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, Mayor Knox and councillors, and of course, our administrative team, and most important, of course, is our public, the citizens of Portage la Prairie. I've got a few things I just want to say before I get into this because I think it's important. There were two big changes this year. So when we're going through it, keep this in mind. This was a tough year for administration. There was a lot of changes. So we wanted to make sure that the numbers reflect what those changes are. Number one, it was an assessment year. So this year, our properties were reassessed, and you'll see when I get into it, the values have changed. So that's a big change which will impact taxes. And the other one, of course, is the provincial education tax credit system. There have been major changes there. They are now going to be in place this year. Very different from last year, and I'll go into that. That also is going to affect the taxes. And I mean, for us as a council, we control our municipal taxes, and you'll see what we've done, which I think is very positive for our community on our side of the financial statement. So with that, first slide is to look at our municipal property taxes at a glance. This year, the city has been able to fund the increases to the 2025 operating budget with a 4% increase in tax revenue. Now, as I mentioned, due to an assessment year this year, this will result in a municipal tax increases of 2.86% to residential properties and 5.99% to commercial properties. And we have said that publicly. We were very open and transparent this year when we did our budget. And so this figure should not come as a surprise for our municipal portion. Capital projects will be primarily funded from reserves, government grants, and debt financing. Now, just so you know, this year, our residential properties will see an average increase of 8.7% on their 2025 assessment. And commercial properties will see an increase of 11.9% on their 2025 assessment. So keep those numbers in mind as we go through this. The next item that was a big change is homeowners affordability tax credit. In 2025, the province will be discontinuing the Manitoba School rebate for all properties except farm properties. They will be introducing the homeowners affordability tax credit, which replaces the education property tax credit. Now, the changes here on residential properties, this credit applies only to residential properties designated as the principal residence of the property owner. Eligible homeowners can receive a credit of up to $1,500, and that's the change. It's capped at $1,500. And the credit will be applied directly to the property tax statement. You won't be getting a rebate check as in the past, wondering what this check was about. It comes right off our statements that you receive. Farm properties will continue to receive the Manitoba School tax rebate, which will be maintained at 50% of the education portion of property taxes. And commercial properties, all that are classified as other, There are no provincial property tax credits or rebates applied to tax statements. So that's another change. Businesses do not receive any of the rebates this year. So that will impact the numbers that you see. So keep that in mind. Now our mill rate. As you can see, the city of Portage la Prairie, us as a council, have lowered our mill rate this year from last year. Last year it was 20.995. We are now going to lower our mill rate this year to 19.868. The school division has increased its mill rate from 12.377 to 12.962, an increase of 4.7%. Your total residential mill rate this year will be 32.830, a decrease of 1.6%. For commercial, the education support levy is being lowered from 8.128 to 7.117, a decrease of 12.4. So overall, commercial will be paying, the mill rate will be 39.947 this year, a reduction of 3.7. And as I mentioned, mill rates have decreased, but the amount of property taxes we will be paying, the citizens and the businesses, is affected by those assessment numbers and by the provincial changes to the property tax credits. But I must say, council, by lowering its mill rate, I think has done a good thing. We could have had, if we had kept the mill rate stable, we could have got 9.9% more revenue, and we chose as a council to decrease our mill rate so that it had less of an impact on our citizens. So kudos to our council for that. Now let's take a look at an example. This is probably the most practical thing. I know I've thrown a lot of numbers at you, but this is probably the most practical thing, I think, to understand this impact. Residential property. The residential property used in this example has to be the property owner's principal residence, as I mentioned, in order to get the homeowner affordability tax credit. That's that $1,500. In 2024, this property would have qualified for those other rebates I talked about. So this year they're getting the full $1,500 homeowner affordability credit. This property in question, you'll see the residential value assessed at $272,000. That's because, as I mentioned earlier, the average assessment went up 8.7% to reflect the impacts of the average residential property. So last year we used the $250,000 figure. This year we're using $272,000 to reflect the new assessment. In this example, the impacts of the changes will result in a reduction in taxes payable of $194. So you can see, if you're in that sort of category, and we can talk, there's all kinds of permutations and combinations, that will show you reduce your property taxes this coming year. Commercial property, the properties in 2024 that were assessed at $500,000 has been increased to 11.9% to, again, reflect the average commercial property in our city. The commercial property in this example is not eligible for property tax credits, as I mentioned. However, in 2024, it would have been eligible for the Manitoba school tax rebate. So you can see the commercial side. And again, I want to stress, this is provincial government policy, not city. So you can see the impact there. In this example, the impacts of the changes will result in an increase of taxes payable of $1,719. And I think a big part of that is the education portion, is they no longer get the rebate. Okay, now where do we get our revenue from? That's sort of a question I think a lot of councillors get. Like, how do you pay for running the city? Well, you can see $14,263,000 is from property taxes. Includes grants in lieu from other levels of government. This is municipal taxes only. So you can see over half of our revenue comes from property taxes. And I don't want to get too far into the debate about property taxes, but that's why municipalities are always asking for other sources of revenue, because it's a big reliance on our property taxpayers. Secondly, you have government grants, $6.64 million. And those include debentures the city will be taking out in 2024 for Saskatchewan Avenue. You can go through the rest. Sales, $2,268,000, transfers from reserve, etc. So our total revenue, and this is on the general side of the city. We're not talking utility yet. We're talking strictly the general side, is $26,750,000. The next slide just gives you the visual representation from the previous table. And you can see property taxes, 53% of our general revenue, and 25% from government grants. So those two figures alone really are the bulk of where we get our revenue. And that's why it's so important we have partnerships with the federal and provincial governments on grants and programs that we need in our city. 2025 general expenses. So how do we spend the citizens' money? $5,601,000 comes from fiscal. It's just a category called fiscal. It's the reserve transfers, excluding general reserve, capital purchases, debenture debt payments, tax incentives, and so on. So that's a big piece, $5,601,000 that we spend in our expenses on the general side. The biggest category is protective, $7,834,000, and that, of course, is fire, bylaw, and RCMP. That's our largest expenditure as a city. General government, you'll see the number there, $3,139,000. That's council indemnities, city hall staff, general staff benefits, and of course, convention costs, insurance. It's kind of all that sort of general government running at City Hall. That's what the general government is. Transportation, $3.139 million, big part of our budget. People ask, how much do we spend on recreation and culture? $2,772,000, and the rest are there. So you'll see our total 2025 general expenses are $26,750,000. But you can see a big part of it is, you know, protective services and so on. It's a big expenditure. And there you see the pie chart that visually shows you how where the expenses and what we spend them for. Now, what about mill rates? There's a lot of discussion about mill rates. I've mentioned this evening already that as a city, we chose to lower our mill rate this year. And you can see over the years, I think we've done a pretty good job of having it slowly come down. We've had some little bit of ups and downs. And then at the end, you'll see it's gone down this year. And I think it's reasonable the way we've managed our mill rate over the years to look at the needs of the city of Portage la Prairie and keep our mill rates reasonable for the citizens of Portage la Prairie. Now I'll turn to the utility side. You see on the utility side, a big part of our revenue comes from customer sales. And you can see the breakdown: industrial, Poplar Bluff Industrial Park, residential, commercial, and regional. That's a big part of our revenue for the utility, is selling of water and wastewater services. Government grants. Grants received from various levels of government are generally related to investment in capital. That's a huge portion there, you'll see, and I'll explain that number in a little bit. And transfers from surplus, prior surplus that we used, are allocated to the utility reserve as a part of the budgeting process. So the total revenue that we receive to run our utility is $61,603,000. And there you'll see the visual pie chart that shows you a big part of where all those revenues come from. I should mention, and a lot of you are aware, thank you, Councillor Nichols, a big part of that, of course, is the debenture that we've taken out of $55.2 million for our water treatment expansion. That's going to be one of the biggest projects. And we are continuing to push to get more cost sharing. We have some cost sharing now from water services, and we have applied to the federal government, Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, for the expansion of our water treatment plant. So we hope to get even more cost sharing to lower our debenture on that. Utility expenses for 2025, water supply, the cost of operating and maintaining the water treatment plant, as well as water distribution, also includes administration salaries and all the staff benefits. So $8,454,000. Contribution to capital. Capital purchases are part of capital purchases that will be funded by grants or city debt. $45,340,000, and so on. Our total expenses, of course, the same as our revenue, $61,603,000. The utility expenses, that just gives you a visual, again, chart, and you can see the big part is contribution to capital. That's the biggest part of our expenses for our utility. So what are we going to do with capital projects this year? This is a big part of what the city of Portage la Prairie does, is spend money to improve our city through capital projects. I'm very proud of some of the projects that I'm going to list here because I think they are bold and they are going to make our city very transformational. On the general fund, you can see we have $2 million, and that's going to go to the Gladys Cook Way construction. That's the main road that's going to be in the Agassiz development of $2 million. Cocoa Platts Community Center, $1,121,000. Of course, a lot of that was from the insurance, mainly. $700,000 is our road, additional road money that we're putting into our roads. I'll speak about that in one moment, a little more thoroughly. We have the green space initiatives for $310,000, and I'll be speaking about that as well, and the fire hall renovations and so on for $344,000. So there's some really good projects there on the general fund side. Capital projects. Well, as I mentioned, the big one is the $98,525,000 water treatment plant upgrade expansion. And that will be funded through a combination of grant funds, debentures, and reserves. One of our largest infrastructure projects that we will be doing. Water pollution control facility funded through a combination of grant funding and reserves, $3,846,000. And East Lime Pond sludge removal funded by reserves, $1,200,000. There's a whole more list. I'm going to save you the pain of me going through each one of these. There's pumps and valves, and I won't even pretend to know. Maybe Councillor Nichols, I think, understands what all those things do, but I'm not capable of giving you all that. But they're all there, and you can see the total of $106,636,000. A big part of that is our water treatment expansion. Now, I talked about roadway infrastructure investment. There are two policies that our council, I think, did some great work on, and one of them was the roadway infrastructure investment. And this is looking at a city multi-year strategy for road infrastructure. And we are putting in an additional $700,000, an additional, not total, an additional $700,000 that's coming from the Canadian Community Building Fund, which is the old gas tax program. And the 2025 plans include work on Crescent Road West from 4th Street to 10th Street. Again, no tax increases associated with this, and it's a 3-year strategy. And I think that's really important, that we as a council have looked forward down the road at our roads and said, we've got a strategy now in place of how much we want to spend. And I'm very proud of council that, I know I took a lot of feedback about our roads after last winter, and the winter before, and we acted. We acted quickly, and we have new monies into our roads. So you should see a lot more road work in the coming 3 years. The other policy that council invested in was Green Space Investment Priority Plan. And you can see the city is investing this year $310,000 to enhance recreational opportunities and expand green spaces within our community. And the plan includes McKay Avenue Playground, $150,000, Simplot Park Washroom Facility, $100,000, and Simplot Park Walkway, $60,000. So those this year are going to be the investments that we are going to make into green space investment. So forward-looking policy, it's a 3-year strategy, and I think it's great that council has looked that far ahead for our parks because they are a really important part of our city. Utility upgrading, I mentioned the water treatment plant upgrade and expansion. This project includes major enhancements to the existing facility, which will not only improve water quality, but will significantly improve reliability, as well as increase its production capacity. And that capacity will directly support economic growth by ensuring a reliable and abundant water supply. This is going to be our future. This project is our future, and this council has taken action and is going to get an enhanced water treatment plant upgrade and expansion. The water pollution control facility upgrades will increase the plant's capacity to allow for future growth to meet the demands of current industries and potential future wet industries looking to locate in our region. The upgrades will ensure that the city is able to meet our environmental responsibilities. These projects will be funded through a combination of grants, reserves, and debentures. And I just want to say one thing on the water treatment. This council has said we're going to be open and transparent with the public. We have to get approvals from the Municipal Board, Public Utilities Board, but we've already had an open house, and we're going to be open and transparent and bring our citizens along every step of the way on that great project. Just a word on community grants. We've talked a lot about this. This is a part that council is very committed to. It's $2.6 million investment in community grant and related party funding in 2025. This has been on our website. We've announced it. And just suffice to say, I think our council is very committed to this. This is a good investment for organizations that do so much work and so much for our citizens and for our city to make us a more humane, compassionate, and very great city that Portage la Prairie is. So it's $2.6 million investment. I think we get so much more back from these groups that do the great work that they do. So we thank them. Well, and we're going to talk about thanking people, our employees. Because without this group, this is the core strength of our city. And without their dedication, our programs and services wouldn't happen. And we appreciate the opportunity to serve our community. A lot of them live in our community. They're part of our community. They're dedicated. So we have 150 full and part-time employees and an annual payroll of $9.4 million. This year in our budget, we indicated we were going to be hiring facility maintenance, one new laborer, and that's to look after our facilities before they get a critical problem. Just like your own home, get the repairs done quicker before you have a real big problem on your hands. So that's in the budget. And we also have the CSO, the community safety officers we've approved. We've said this many times, 2 additional positions in 2025 for a total staff complement of 7, including a manager. And I think all of council is so proud of this program. We've invested a lot to make our community safer. And we had some hiccups at the beginning, but I think like Councillor Doyle said, we're going to make this work, and we did. And I just hear positive things about it, and I congratulate our council for putting that program in place. Outstanding debt. I get asked a lot, what is our debt in the city of Portage la Prairie? As you know, we can't run a deficit as municipalities. So how are we managing the debt that we're allowed to incur? The city's debt plan is included with the 10-year capital plan. On the general fund side, the maximum debt capacity is $45.6 million with annual payments of $9.4 million. That's as high as we can go under legislation. That's our debt ceiling. This coming year, $10.9 million or 23.9% of the general fund debt capacity will be used as of December 2025. So you can see we're well within our budget limit. On the utility side, utility debt is treated separately as payments are funded by the utility rates. And as of December 31, 25, the outstanding debt here on the utility side will be $2.4 million. A couple of things I just want to bring to council's attention about our debt. This is actually a great news thing. At the end of 2025, all debentures related to the construction of Stride Place will be fully paid. Isn't that great? Credit to our council, past councils, foresight. We're paid off this year. And I know I got asked that during the election, and I still get asked, where are we with Stride Place? It's done this year. So at that time, the city's remaining debt will be solely related to Saskatchewan Avenue project. So the combined debt for both the general and the utility will be $13.3 million, the 9.4 and the 2.4. Is that right? $13.3 million with annual payments of $1.8 million. That's on both the general side and the utility side. And as a reminder, our debt requires approval of the municipal board, with utility debt requiring approval from the Public Utilities Board. As I mentioned, on the water treatment plant, we have a few approvals that we need to get. Determining your tax properties. Number one, look at your 2025 assessed value of your property. As I mentioned, assessment has changed this year, the value of your house and your commercial enterprise. Step two, compare it to your 2024 property tax statement. Step three, use the 2025 tax impact calculator to determine your property taxes. And these are all available on the city's website. And I asked our Director of Finance, Corporate Services, Jen Sadney, you know many municipalities have the tax calculator? Like that just, I hadn't heard of that. And this is something very unique to Portage la Prairie. So congratulations, whoever developed that, Jen, I'll give you credit. It's great. You can go on there, put your numbers in, boom, you know what you're going to be paying. So that's a great tool. So the next steps, council, are tonight we'll be doing first reading. It's a public hearing, so we'll hear from our citizens. We will have first reading tonight of the financial plan. And following the second and third reading, which will be next council meeting, will be submitted to the province. And then tax statements are received from the province at the end of May. Statements are mailed out to property owners in early June, and taxes are due by July 31, 2025. So there are other resources available. All this stuff, this presentation, the budget speech I did in January, the community grants, they are all on our website. And the additional resources, the tax impact calculator and property assessment. This is about as open and transparent as you can be with our financial plan, and all the resources are there for you. So, your worship and council members, that's the financial plan. Remind you that two big changes, assessment has changed, and we had the changes by the provincial government on education credits. But I'm very excited about this plan. When you look at it, we've paid off stride place. We're managing our debt. We're investing in water, green space, roads, safety officers. But the most important thing to me is that I give our Mayor Knox credit for this. We have a strategic plan that we're following. And all this is in our strategic plan, and that's exciting. And as finance chair, when I can look at our strategic plan and look at it and compare it to what we're doing in our plan and see the match, I think that's a great thing for a council, to be following the strategic direction that we laid out at the beginning of our term and shared with the citizens. So I think it sets us up for a great future in Portage la Prairie, and I want to thank all of you. All of you have been so great to work on this plan. You all have things in your portfolios that are in this plan. And as I said, thanks to our mayor, we have followed our strategic direction, and we are well positioned going into next year. And we are going to form and continue to build a very great, positive vision and achievement for our citizens of Portage la Prairie. I am so proud of that. And it's a great time to live in Portage la Prairie. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Thank you for those comments, but I'll just say it was teamwork, our strategic plan, absolutely, as a council. So, and our regional partners, the RM, actually have a tax calculator too. So it's a regional thing for sure. I'll ask if there is anyone here who has any questions about our financial plan. Anyone here to ask questions about the financial plan? Anyone here opposed to the financial plan? Anyone here to speak in favor of the financial plan? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing for the 2025 financial plan and tax levy bylaw. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that we close the public hearing on our financial plan.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. All those in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Massey, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that that bylaw number 258777, being a bylaw of the City of Portage la Prairie, to authorize the levying and raising of property taxes for school and municipal purposes for the year ending December 31, 2025, be given first reading.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any questions or comments from council? You must have done a very thorough job, Councillor Massey. Thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. Excellent. And like we said, we will see that come back for second and third reading at our next meeting. Okay. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship, and colleagues. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no other report this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Council. You'll see at last committee meeting, we were bringing forth a motion in order to name a street. I do want to refer to Councillor Massey's financial plan. It already referred to this street as being named this. That is not passed just yet, but after tonight, we'll certainly know where it's at that point. So the issue, of course, that we brought up last time was to approve the naming of a street in the new development at the former Agassiz Youth Center. And I do want to point out that council has the authority in order to be able to name streets. And we thought that this one was certainly more than appropriate. Just get there. So I read through it last. I'm not going to go through it again, the entire report, but I do want to just really reiterate the background and the accomplishments, and I think why it's important to council that that we bring this name forward to name this new arterial road, which of course is at the corner of River Road and Crescent Road, and goes into a brand new area of development for us on the old Agassiz Youth Land. So of course Gladys Cook had settled back in Portage in 1950. She had worked with corrections, Alcoholics Anonymous, and on residential school issues. She received a Governor General's Award, the Order of Manitoba, a Canada 125 Medal, a Premier's Award, a YMCA Women of Distinction Award, a Manitoba Medical Association Award, the Order of Rupert's Land, and a National Aboriginal Achievement Award. This fits in right with our strategic plan under inclusive and informed community and really speaks to the reconciliation that this council has identified. So I think it's more than appropriate that we bring forward this name for either for the discussion or approval, that we will name the street Gladys Cook Way, and obviously refer to her spirit name of Topodawin. Sorry about that. And I practiced that too. Topodawin, and I mean that in all due respect. So without reading anything further, it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the name Gladys Cook Way for a new street on the former Agassiz Youth Center property as shown on the sketch contained herein, with secondary signing reading Topodawin.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Porter?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and through Your Worship to Councillor Meyer. I'm going to be fully supporting this recommendation. I was very fortunate enough to have the opportunity to witness Gladys Cook's great work while she was the coordinator for NADAP, which was formerly known as the National Native Alcohol and Drug Program. Among those she worked included the residents of Portage Women's Correctional Center here in Portage la Prairie. I worked there as a correctional officer, and she also offered courses in Indigenous awareness to the staff. Gladys always told us she never forgot where she came from and the long journey and the struggle she had gone through to find her own healing. Her time was devoted to helping others along the same difficult path as she had. When she walked through those doors and left, I'll always remember that sense of common healing and the mutual respect we had for each other. I could not think of a more deserving person for that street of the former Agassiz Youth Center be named after her. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Espy?
Just like to echo Councillor Porter's comments, and I will also add that for my 19-year career at Agassiz Youth Center, I too worked with Gladys Cook on many occasions, and she was a real pillar of the institution. There are several former residents from Agassiz Youth Center that have a high school diploma that reads Gladys Cook Education Center on the front, and as we know, that facility had to be removed to make way for a new hospital, so it's very fitting that this name comes up.
Thank you. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just also want to note for the record as well that this was a name brought forward by the Heritage Committee. The Heritage Committee has done insurmountable work in our community to certainly recognize those, as Councillor Espy says, pillars of our community, and to be able to memorialize this the street in this way with a lady that's so deserving as well. I'm in favor of the motion. Or I will be speaking in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Just a comment, I never had the honor of knowing Gladys Cook. As you know, I haven't been here that long. But I do have to say is that I'm grateful that we saw this in committee before, being that it got some public information going out, because I have had a lot of comments from citizens about how happy they are here that we're doing this. So she obviously made a real impact on our community. So yes, if nothing else, all those in favor, and that is carried. As this process goes and there's naming, obviously, you know, we will continue to let the public know how that happens and move forward. Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Community Services Committee has nothing to report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing to report at this portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety Committee has nothing to report at this portion of the meeting.
Thank you. We have no items of deferred business. We'll move right into new business. We have our March building reports. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. And as I mentioned many times, nothing makes me more proud than to be able to read the building reports, not only for the work that our community does through our investment groups and through our planning district, but of course, it just shows shovel to ground. I think Councillor Massey's comments in the financial plan about the growth of this city is directly related to this, of course. And as you know, Council, you'll see both the City of Portage and the RM of Portage. I always refer to them on the combined sense because we are a regional body and a darn good one at that. When you look at the year over year, you will see that they are quite a bit different than they were last year. Even if we remove the hospital out of there, we are certainly behind in some areas. Again, there's no disappointment in this fact as things start to pick up over the next few months, but the trend does continue. There are some residential new developments going on, and I think we see that throughout our town. Repairs continue, which of course is the trend. People investing back not only into the residential homes, but also to the commercial, industrial, institutional, and farm buildings as well. And then of course you're going to see the miscellaneous permits there too. So last year at this time we did have 41 permits with 272 million, of course the bulk of that being the new hospital. This year we're at 28 for 2.8 million, and I do know that the trend is continuing throughout the rest of the year. So look forward to April's and building things, and I'll talk about that as well. And that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Excellent. Does anyone have any questions for Councillor Meyer? No? Okay. Next item of new business is award the tender for the disposal of lime sludge and waste residuals. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Colleagues, what we have in front of us here is to award a tender number 25 OPS 011 for the disposal of lime, sludge, and waste residuals for the City of Portage la Prairie Water Treatment Plant. So we can award the tender to Assiniboine Injections Limited, award the tender to another bidder, or do not award the tender. The tender was posted on Merck's website and electronically on the city's web page. The tender closed at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Pardon me. 14 copies of the tender were sent out and 5 submissions were received. The tender has followed the procurement tender process, and the rated criteria are set at 50 points for qualifications, knowledge/experience, 10 points for sustainability factor, and 10 points for past relationships with the city, and 30 points for pricing, for a total of 100 points. This work involves loading, transportation, and final disposal of lime soda residuals and other residuals from the wastewater treatment plant solid settling pond. The dry residual waste material is likely greater than 90% calcium carbonate and a small fraction of organic matter, a very small quantity of aluminum coagulant compounds. The contractor is required to provide all equipment and personnel while ensuring that the disposal of the lime solid sludge and waste residuals conforms to provincial or federal regulations. The work must be completed by October 15th of 2025. The submitted tenders were evaluated and the bid prices and points were awarded as follows. Assiniboine Injections Limited, price per ton is $29.81, a total points of 94.84, and a total bid price of $98,730 net of GST. Second was Meston Construction Limited. Bid price per ton is $27.20. Total points were 91.53, and a total bid price of $897,600. Pardon me. KBL Projects Limited. Bid price per ton was $30.79. Total points were 80.10 for a total bid price of $1,016,070 net of GST. Eddie's Gravel Supply Limited was our fourth. Bid price per ton was $27.70. Total points were 77.27. Total bid price was $914,100. EF Moon Construction Limited also submitted a bid price per ton of $28. Total points awarded were 74.74 for a total bid price of $924,000. The bids were based on a conservative estimate of 33 tons for comparison purposes. The contract makes no assurances about the total amount of lime residuals to be removed, and the contractor is paid per dry ton, not a lump sum. The 2025 budget includes $1,200,000, which is allocated from the Utility Reserve Fund. And Assiniboine Injections has completed the same work for the city in previous years and did an excellent job. They have also completed other lime hauling and or spreading operations for other municipalities and are very familiar with the work required. So it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie award the contract for the disposal of lime, sludge, and waste residuals as specified in tender 25 OPS 011 to Assiniboine Injections Limited for the tender price of $29.81 per ton to a maximum of $983,730 net of GST. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Councillor Porter. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. If you just bear with me for a few minutes, council, I have a few points I need to make here. I think everybody knows where I stand on supporting local businesses. And the last time we had this debate on a different subject, it was the paving contract. There was a $6,000 price difference. The difference was that a local company was not the low bidder. This time around, they are by quite a significant margin, about $85,000 if I'm not mistaken. We are now talking about the scoring criteria, 50 points for qualifications and experience, 10 points for sustainability, which I cannot imagine how someone outside of our community could beat a local company, because I do not know what the final scoring tally was. 10 points for past relationship with the city, which seems like a very arbitrary way of scoring things, and 30 points for pricing, which obviously Messington Construction is going to get that whole 30 points. And if I'm not mistaken, the scoring on their last time they bid on something was actually higher than this without winning the pricing. So I only see two ways forward with this, and it's either to give the contract to second place as far as the scoring criteria is concerned, or tabling this until I can see what the scoring breakdown was, because I do not have the knowledge or the comfort level to support this going to the leading person on this that is recommended without getting all the information to vote on. And those are my comments for now.
Okay, so you're not making a motion right now, you want some explanation?
Well, I would, if you would indulge me, I'd like to hear from the rest of council before I decide on which motion I would like to make.
Got you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Doyle?
I would like to make a motion to table this until the next meeting so we can see some more information as to how the scoring breakdown works as well.
Okay. That is moved by a motion to table moved by Councillor Doyle. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Porter? Councillor Espy?
Just a question before voting on that motion. Are we going to have the ability to see the scoring breakdowns? Right now, all we have is total points. I would like to see how they scored in each category so I can reconcile this for myself.
To administration, can I ask that question just about the rules of procurement, that sort of thing? Yeah.
Thank you. Through your worship to Councillor Espy, we're not able to provide the specific scoring for each participant. We can provide an overview of the process that the staff went through when evaluating the bids and review of the criteria as a whole. But to provide specific detail on the points provided in each category, we cannot do.
Can I ask a question? Is that because what's the reason for that? Like, I'm just, yeah, is it because of governance? Is it because of decision? Like, I'm just not sure how that works.
It's my understanding that council is to focus on the overall points and not debating the individual points provided by the number of parties that were involved in the review process. So it's not one person, it's a number of people that provides points in this. And so I believe we have to just focus on the total and the process that's been given.
Councillor Espy?
I guess my question is, how can I make an educated decision when I don't know how the breakdown is? Because we're talking about some stuff that we're not allowed to see, and there's $85,000 of taxpayers' money going out based on this decision. It doesn't make sense to me that we cannot see the criteria and how each of them was scored. And I don't know where that regulation comes from, if it's a policy, but do we not have the ability to unpack that a little bit more than it's been presented to us?
So my suggestion is right now is that we go ahead with the motion to table, and we can look into more of the, like, maybe there is a way we can see more of it. Maybe there's a way that we get a better explanation of that. But what we're saying here is I think the motion to table is so that we can get more information before we make a decision on that. Does that seem fair to everybody? Does anybody have any more comments? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Worship. And I too, I struggled with this a little bit. And in all due respect to Councillor Espy, of course, through our mayor, to back to Councillor Espy, I just want to caution council that we're getting into a bit of a slippery slope. The reason I say that is when we're elected around this table, we're obviously elected for fiscal restraint. And I get that, right? And if we based everything on dollars and cents, I'm not sure that's the right direction. I was on council both at the times when we passed similar motions like this, and it's worked in both ways. I was on council when we passed the sustainability factor that really, even though we're bound by the Manitoba legislative process of bids, and I may not be saying that correctly, but we're bound by the government that we can only do so much for local procurement. That's the reason we set this up. Every time we come up where one of our local businesses, and I get the subjectivity in the procurement process and the sustainability factors, but I do believe strongly that we have to trust our administration, that they take an unbiased approach to this.
Okay. And
So
I'm just gonna say here too, I thank you for those comments, but we do have a motion to table. So
that was
maybe, yeah, and so
before I can make a
yeah.
we're going to support the motion to table it.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted to say what I
Gotcha,
said. I may
gotcha.
not support that motion at this point.
okay. Do you have a question on the motion to table?
A question just before I can vote on the tabling.
Okay.
Maybe to Councillor Espy. You were on council previously when the policy was developed. Did you, in your time of council, see that kind of process where you went through the detailed scoring of staff in your time on council?
We have addressed this, sorry, through your worship to Councillor Massey, we have addressed this several times in my time on council. The sustainability factors came in, and there seems to always be some question when these kind of things come up. I'm not asking for the minutiae of details, but a total in each of those categories would be nice, because if Messyton Construction simply lost by past relationship with the city, for example, I would want to know that, because I can't think of another company that has provided more in-kind work and supported other projects in the city. I am fairly certain that Assiniboine Injections have not. So that's the kind of detail I'm looking for. It's not down to the tiniest of detail, but I would like to know the totals in each category.
Okay. Did you have some? No, I think, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think we probably can get some more even high level of some of those details and how the scoring worked as we go in discussion. If everyone is, I mean, we're going to do a motion to table here and see what everybody says. But we definitely are looking for more information, is what you're saying. Okay.
Madam Mayor, can I, sorry, in all due respect, can I, before we vote on the motion to table, can I get kind of what that is going to look like? Why are we putting this on why are we tabling? I get the information request, and I've got no issues with it, but what kind of information are we looking for? I would like to just be clear on that.
Sure. Counselor, well, I think Counselor Espy said it, like, are you looking for information on what's involved with, say, the 50 points for qualifications and experience? Is that what you're looking for, or what's involved in without giving details? Like, for instance, this job, right? I assume it is not as simple as we said, picking up stuff and hauling it. So what does it entail, and what are they looking for in the bidders and in the bid, and what they're bidding on? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I just basically want to know the final scoring for each category. It may lead to more questions, but at this point, that's my only request.
Ms. Chakota?
Through your worship to Councillor Espy, and the totals on each subcategory are something that we're not able to discuss publicly. We can talk about what criteria were looked at by the staff when they reviewed these proposals in terms of qualifications and experience, what's looked at with sustainability, what's looked at when it's a past relationship with the city. We can talk about what goes into all those things, but ultimately, you know, price is just one component. The sustainability is just one component, right? So it's the sum total of everything that led to this outcome.
Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Hearing that, if this is the best information I'm going to have to make a decision on, then when this comes back up in 2 weeks, I already know what my amendment is going to be, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Anyone else before we call a vote on the motion to table? Councillor Nichols?
I'm going to support that motion to table, in that there is some technical parts, and I'd like to gain more understanding on the sustainability piece too, and possibly what the spec looks like and some of that information as well. So I think that it would be, and I presented this, and I still have some questions that I'd like that I wouldn't mind asking of for clarification, please.
Councillor Meyer?
If you may indulge me, I just have one further comment, Madam Mayor. Everybody around this table, we support local 100%. I don't think I would question anybody in that situation. I just want us to come back here debating how they arrived at the numbers that they arrived at. I'm not about to, as much as I support our local business and I would do whatever I need to do to try to help that, I also want to support our administration. And support our administration, the fact that they do an unbiased opinion on this to get to where the numbers are at. So as long as we're not debating that, I'm in favor of tabling the motion to get a little more clarity on the information, as long as we don't come back and debate that, how they got to where they got to at the table. So if that makes any sense, Madam Mayor.
Yep. Councillor Nichols?
And thank you, Your Worship. I echo Councillor Meyer's comments, and that's you put in very good words there, and that's exactly the mindset that I'm at with too, with some technical pieces that I'd like to better understand as well. Thank you for that.
Councillor Espy?
I will just say this. We cannot put conditions around how we table this. So if it leads to another debate 2 weeks from now, I'm open to that. There's no way to predict what might come out of this, and we might be having this discussion all over again. And if that happens, I'm okay with it, because the motion on the table is simply tabling it. And 2 weeks from now, we will do it all over again.
We will do it all over again. We're not making a decision tonight, and we will get more information. We'll figure out exactly what that's going to look like between now and then. Okay? Excellent. I'll call the question. All in favor of tabling this decision? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay. We'll move another item of new business. We're moving into our quarterly reports. These are for information only. We'll move into city planning and economic development. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. In respect of our economic development officer who has taken a well-deserved holiday back in her home country of Ireland, and we certainly wish her all the best. I'm going to just briefly touch on the Q1 report for PRED, which second only to the building permits report. But as you're aware, PRED is a regional body that works for both the city and the RM. And there's a number of things that I'd like to point out in the first quarter report that refer not only to the SETI program, but the Portage Economic Response Team, Business Walks 2024, data services, business retention expansion, industrial development strategy, and so on. The report goes into very much detail in regards to each one of those areas and where we are really succeeding. I also want to point out, we know that all of our cities always have certain challenges when it comes to economic development, but I do know that PRED and the services that they have provided, not only in everything from site selections to business nurturing, access to internal investment team, the steps that they've taken in order to make our region ready for investment are really second to none. And I really applaud PRED for doing that. When you get down deeper into the report, there's talking about the Portage Advantage, and that's been out since December of 2024. And in May of 2025, they're going to be releasing the Portage Advantage video, and the team is already working under the Portage Advantage 2.0. Not only does this encompass our tourism, but it encompasses our economic development, and of course shows us that we're the right choice for investors. With that said, I'm not going to get too much more into it. The rest of it is stuff that's been on the go for a while, and if anybody has a chance to certainly go to the website, you will see that the website as well is second to none, just to be able to choose land, look at a bunch of different data, and everything that you need to make a rational, professional decision on whether to invest in our community or not. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to pass those on to somebody, or I would certainly try to answer them myself at that point in time as well. So, but that's kind of the report in general. And again, unless there's any other questions, that's really where I'm at.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Any questions that we'll put him on the spot for? No? Good. Okay, excellent. We'll move into Community Services Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. First quarterly report I have to present. Through Your Worship, I will call upon Executive Director Mary Kozar to present the PCRC report.
Thank you. So this is the city's first quarter, but it was PCRC's fourth quarter. So we just wrapped up a very big fiscal year for us. And our local immigration partnership program wrapped up a 5-year contract, and we were renewed for another 3 years. So there has been a lot going on in the immigration world, but we were happy to retain most of our funding going forward. And PLIP has been busy doing some presentations to high school students. They are working with the Islamic Association to help leverage funding for the Multicultural Center that the city has pledged land for. They are also partnering with PRED on their 2025 research project, and that will focus on evaluating the community's readiness to welcome newcomers as a workforce development strategy. Our youth hub has seen a very busy quarter. So they opened up programming in January, and we have seen very successful cultural programming, cooking skills classes, clothing design and mending classes, harm reduction programming. We've seen a variety of referrals for one-on-one support, and lots of service providers are bringing youth in to do introductions with staff there. So they're really building the bridge between different services in the community. We are very excited about more land-based programming opportunities over the next quarter, and we have some great staff that are leading that, including Jacinda Houle. Our community facilitator was very busy supporting a number of events and organizations and helping them leverage funding, including Bear Clan, PRED, NERSUM, and the Parks Committee. And Rachel Templeton sadly moved on from PCRC, and we are in the process of filling that position. We held Winterfest at La Vérendrye School again, and we saw hayrides, snowshoeing, inflatable axe throwing, which was a new one, a magic show, along with free bannock dogs, bannock, hot chocolate, and cookies, and almost 300 people came out to enjoy the afternoon. We had our 10th annual International Women's Day event with our partners that we continue to hold, and that was sold out with local speaker Sophia Smoke and headliner Jesse Cruikshank. Wowokia hosted a couple trainings that were made possible with funding through the RCMP Family Violence Initiative Fund. So over the past fiscal year from April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, 122 people were supported through Wowokia. So they take on individuals and families, so that encompasses all people in the households. And 86% of parents regained custody of their children due to participation. 74% of family participants had an increased number of visitations with their children if their children were in care. 67% of participants saw a reduction in charges since participation of the program. And 67% of participants entered the workforce or maintained employment due to participation, which are very positive results and have huge cost savings across sectors. Our Reaching Home and our intensive case management teams remained busy. 15 files were housed or avoided eviction this past quarter. The Community Foundation awarded Reaching Home a grant aimed at tackling food insecurity, and that money goes towards our community pantries, providing snacks and small meals in the office, and also some emergency hampers. So our intensive case management program, which is like our level 2 kind of Reaching Home program of eviction prevention and housing, they supported 130 people over the past year. And our Indigenous Seniors Resource Coordinator was able to create 24 grieving bundles through a grant through Age Friendly Manitoba, and also provided some food security to those program participants. So we started off our new fiscal year, and we receive a grant, obviously, through the city each year. And we often receive questions about how the city funds us and how much we're funded. And so this fiscal year that we're just starting, the city is funding 2.5% of our budget, because we receive that operating budget, and we receive about 3% from the province directly for operations, and then we leverage that into finding more funding from different organizations or levels of government or different government departments. So we are very happy with bringing all of that money into our community and being able to provide different services to residents.
Thank you. Just wondering when you're going to get busy.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. And speaking of busy, I will once again call upon the Executive Director of the PCRC to present the Suda Cachicha Urban Indigenous Strategy Report.
Yes, so Suda Cachicha has supported a number of events and partnerships over the past quarter, including Youth Hub, Winterfest, plans for Orange Shirt Day coming up in this September, attending the Dakota TP Health Fair, and recruiting community members for the coalition. So our goal is always to bring out the voice of urban Indigenous community members. So we are doing some more recruitment to find local members who could really support the coalition, so we can really prioritize what we should focus on. And we did do a newer strat plan a couple kind of years ago, and something that was on that path plan was actually increasing the number of Indigenous street names. So we're very proud of council for approving that name.
Thank you. Any questions for Mary, anyone? Thank you. Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. The next report that I will present is the quarterly report for the Portage Parks Committee. Activities completed this quarter approaching the required funding for the accessible playground swing at Island Park. Commitment from City to install paved paths, modular washroom, and lighting in Simplot Central Park this summer. Signage preferences determined for Co-op, Snow Park, and Rotary Skate Park. Both should be installed this summer. Activities begun this quarter, continued fundraising for Simplot Central Park, continued fundraising for the accessibility playground swing at Island Park, continued planning for sponsor signage throughout the park, and considering options for more benches and a rain shelter in Simplot Central Park. And the goals for next quarter: install signage for Co-op, Snow Park, and Rotary Skate Park, finalize details of title sponsor signage for Simplot Central Park, begin installation of lights, paths, and washrooms, and complete fundraising for accessible playground swing at Island Park.
Thank you. Any questions on the parks report, anyone? Okay, Councillor Espy.
And finally, I will call upon our youth councillors to present their quarterly report.
I'll be covering the activities we completed this quarter. We attended council meetings. We maintained our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. We talked with the Youth Hub Youth Council about how the Youth Hub could grow, about possibly adding new activities. We also worked together to organize the volunteer fair. We met with the SOS, which stands for Sources of Strength, group at PCI, and provided them with a survey. We intended for the survey to find out how the youth felt about Portage, and we found out that there is demand for a safe third place where youth can express themselves. It is our goal, then, to promote and improve the accessibility of the Youth Hub even more to meet this demand. We also organized a volunteer fair event at PCI. It went smoothly, and lots of local volunteer organizations got to speak with youth about different opportunities. We hope that this event promoted communication and facilitated the growing presence of youth in volunteering.
For activities begun this quarter, we're working with our school to create a division-wide survey from grade 5 to grade 12. This will allow us to see what youth of various ages want to see in our community. It will also allow us to hear a wide range of issues they are currently facing and are not being addressed. Our goals for next quarter are installing bike racks at PCI to incentivize the use of the bike lanes, especially as the weather gets warmer and more students are spending time outside. We are also planning on participating in Bike Week, which will be held from May 25th to May 30th. We hope to provide ice cream and cones during the cookie ride, one of the more popular events.
Thank you. I just have a question. When you talk about the large scale survey, who are you working with on that at the school?
Our principal, Mr. Mackenzie.
Excellent. Look forward to the results. And I had the I had the opportunity to attend the youth fair. I attended while the students were there, and it was a great event. And I saw you two doing lots of work there, greeting people and making sure they knew what they were doing. So kudos to the youth hub and to you two for that event. Anyone else have questions or comments? Councillor Porter?
I just wanted to add, Your Worship, there was a couple other ones that came a little bit later. Ryan, Councillor Espy and myself, and Councillor Massey. And so we did attend the fair that was hosted at the Portage Collegiate, and would like to thank you, Francois and Yvan, there on that initiative, because it really opens the door to our youth to explore the opportunities to connect with the good work that is done in our community. So I just want to tell you, well done. There was quite a few tables there, and yeah, they are looking at possibly hosting another one in the future, a few months from now. Well, I guess in the fall time.
Great. Thank you. And a shout out to all the volunteers. It's National Volunteer Week, so kudos. Okay. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So that concludes the quarterly reports for the Community Services Committee.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. To give the RCMP fourth quarter report, I think it will be me this evening. So, or our Director of Public Safety, Brad Bailey.
Thank you, Councillor Espy. So overall, the numbers appear to be down this quarter from last quarter. There was some a slight increase in property crime, but there was a slight decrease in personal crimes as well. Impaired driving was lower than last quarter's. But overall, it appears that most categories are flat or slightly lower than last quarter. Currently, the RCMP detachment for the city has 27 open positions, or 27 positions, with 23 of them filled. There's one special leave and 3 are hard vacancies. The hard vacancies are no members assigned to that position, so they are vacant at this time. So the goals for 2024-2025 for the police are employee engagement and wellness, modernization, stewardship, and service delivery, reconciliation with Indigenous communities, on-road, off-road, and water safety, and crime reduction, crime prevention, and community safety. Stats for this quarter. So there was calls for service within the city were 1,776. This is slightly down again compared to last quarter, last year, or this quarter last year at 1,812. And the to-date totals are 8,819 for the city. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. That must mean some of our initiatives are working. Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to point out from the report, traffic violations are down this quarter compared to last quite substantially. So I hope that people are getting the message to slow down, wear your seatbelt, and stay off your phone. One stat that I still do not like to see on there, and I know the impaired driving is down by about half from last quarter, and that's to be expected when you're comparing it to the holiday quarter. However, there was 9 impaired drivers in this past quarter, and 9 impaired driving charges is still 9 too many. There is 0 need to drink and drive. So I would love to see that number as 0, because 9 impaired tickets is 9 too many, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And now I will call on our CSO manager, Caitlin Saindon, to give the first quarter report from the CSOs.
evening, Your Worship and Council. On behalf
You
of the
just,
CS
Caitlin, you just have to make
Oh, am
sure
I
you
not
talk
close
into
enough?
that mic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll get
You're
this.
live on TV.
Gotcha. On behalf of the Community Safety Office, we'll start with the statistics. One thing at the outset to note, the statistics with the CSO office alone has completely surpassed the 2024 occurrences, incidents, calls for service. As of 2024, 67 was the total number of calls for service, and at this point, we are looking at 108 from the first quarter between January and March. So typically speaking, we see majority being suspicious person calls, theft calls, and trespass offenses as our main source of calls for service. But again, at this point, pretty much everything has gone up, and I attribute part of that to the awareness of the Community Safety Office, I think, right now as a whole. I won't go through all of them, but just a couple of things to note. Assist general public, one thing, just so everybody is aware of what that is. That is just your standard calls that maybe didn't warrant a criminal offense or didn't warrant, a category of bylaw or anything specific to an act, but required some assistance one way or another. And then the other one being assist other agency. Is this sounding okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Assist other agency is typically a request of fire, RCMP, emergency services, anything of that nature. So moving on from there. This quarter is again another transition period that I think we're gonna see. As of the time that this report was made, it's a little bit different than what we're looking at. The department includes Director of Public Safety, Administrative Manager of Public Safety, Community Safety Office Manager, and 4 general duty community safety officers. So at this time, CSO Seth Bryson was set to depart from the Community Safety Office. He did depart on the 4th of April 2025, so right now we're currently operating with 3 CSO officers. The department wishes him the best in his future endeavors. But with that being said, we are intending to fill his position in addition to adding 2 more community safety officers as approved by council. The hiring process has commenced and mostly finished at this point, with the new community safety officers set to attend ACC training in Brandon on the 20th of May, meaning that they'll start sometime in the beginning of June, ending their training around June 14th. Again, current hours of operation at this time are sitting between 8:30 and 4:30, but again, are subject to change as soon as we get these new folks ready to go. Regarding equipment, we are still operating with our standard standard peace officer cruiser 501, as long as 2 e-bikes that we were hopeful to get onto the road shortly. The CSOs have continued to be a strong presence within the community, actively maintaining and building strong relationships with local businesses, citizens, the RCMP, staying in good contact with the schools and all the other agencies associated. Monthly meetings between the CSOs and the RCMP have continued to be consistent and helpful. The RCMP has continued to work with the CSO officers by providing information, sessions, and learning opportunities, which has been wholeheartedly lovely from our perspective. The CSOs continue to prioritize businesses along Saskatchewan Avenue, but also everywhere else in the city, such as dealing with calls for service to anywhere within city limits. They are still conducting daily check-ins and educational sessions with employees, groups, and schools, and are still consistently foot and vehicle patrolling in the areas of concern. Areas of concern, from our perspective, they change from a week-to-week basis, but the guys are out there and they are doing their best to stay in the public's view to be of assistance as most they can. One last thing in the public relations section is the CSO office has continued to work with the city and the RCMP and other provincial agencies. There have been a few larger issues that we've been able to assist one way or another with addressing, and we're hopeful to continue that in the future. Lastly, for projects, the Community Safety Office on March 27th, we put out a tender for a secondary patrol unit. The idea is the request is for a 4x4 truck, which will allow the officers to patrol in adverse weather conditions and allow for easier transport of hazardous materials with the exterior box of the vehicle. We did post a tender for that at that point with an end close of April 14th. A little time has passed since then. Just be aware that the tender has been reposted and the deadline has been extended slightly. Other than that, the CSO department, again, transition period is still underway, but we do continue to support the community in the best that we can and look forward to serving everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Caitlin? Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your presentation. And as you heard in my presentation, I've heard nothing but good things about this program, so congratulations. We've had some representation, I guess, the Chamber and I think a few other businesses about being able, when you're in the middle of a potentially dangerous situation, to be able to text you. And I know there may be some technical issues around that. Text your services. Where are we at with that?
Yeah, that is something that we're not against necessarily the idea of that. I think it's just something that we need to have a very strong procedure and idea of how we can go about that. The texting side of things is convenient for the client and or business or person requiring the assistance. But in our case, it sometimes puts our officers in a bit of a safety disadvantage that we have to be aware of everything that goes on. So, for example, when calls for service come in, it's the way that I operate with receiving the calls for service is very similar to how a 911 dispatcher would take a call for an emergency situation. So a lot of questions are typically asked in those circumstances to determine not only is it safe, but which agency to send to that call for service. So sometimes calls may come to us that we aren't able to deal with based on the severity of issues. Therefore, it may be referred to the RCMP. So for standard theft calls, of course, that's something we can look into, but we just have to be sure that we have that procedure down for safety beforehand. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was one of the feedback I heard is that sometimes, somebody might send a text and hope for the best. Meanwhile, they should be calling RCMP or over CSO or something like that. Yeah. Councillor Porter?
Yeah, that was just my comment that I was going to make, Your Worship, that I would 100% agree with Caitlin that puts their officers at risk because there's more questions that have to be asked with rather than just the one-liner. And if it's really that important or an emergency, they should be phoning 911. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Caitlin, for your presentation. I just wanted to say that, outside of the council chambers, my other roles have me driving around all the time, and I still continue to see the officers constantly out on foot patrol. The vehicle is in all corners of the city, and your officers have been very, very noticeable. I've heard positive feedback from business owners and citizens alike, and I love to hear you say that your relationship with the RCMP is very strong from your end, because I've had a number of meetings with RCMP members as well, and they echo that as well, that their relationship with you is very, very positive on their end. So it's just nice to see the two levels working together in harmony like that. So thank you.
Excellent. Still yours, Councillor Doyle.
Still me. And next, I will call up sorry, let me say that again. I will call up Mr. Kaladamski for his quarterly report, a report that I always enjoy going through because it's filled with fun graphics and memes, which I really appreciate.
Thank you. Yes, I get distracted when I create these. So. Shoots me off into a different rabbit hole every time. First quarter, fairly busy. 349 calls for service. We have impounded 36 animals, which was way down compared to first quarter last year. At the start of this report, anyway. Sorry, I'm going to go back a few. Oh, there we go. We had 6 cats, 1 dog in the animal retention facility. We got a rescue out of Winnipeg to help us out, and they took all of our cats all at once. So We have 0 cats, but unfortunately we do have 6 dogs. 4 out of those 6 have new homes. It's just a matter of when they're going. 2 are new. We are working on a teaching presentation. Not sure what I'm going to call it yet, or what we're calling it. Just for new drivers, just teach them the traffic bylaws of the city, basically. It's been kind of approved to go to the high school and present this to drivers ed students. But at the same time, I'm willing to sit down with adults and talk to them too, as to why maybe they're getting a few tickets. Still working on that. Scum calls are up. And as much as it is awful to deal with, it is comical to watch some of the videos. So again, I invite anybody to come to the office to watch this body camera footage. The guys, I don't know how to say it. They might enjoy it, but I definitely enjoyed the video. We're working hard on the vacant and derelict properties, trying to get them brought up to proper bylaw, or at least cleaned up and maintained. So we do have approximately 20 properties that we're looking at right now. Apparently I don't have that number now. But we'll be taking care of those kind of 1 or 2 at a time and slowly cleaning up the derelict properties. Boarded up homes, dilapidated, empty lots. Other than that, on page 8, just kind of want to emphasize the importance of, on the bottom, the importance of licensing your animal. Those are 3 different dogs. They all look the same. One's just a joke. The other 2 we received inside the ARF. Never seen dogs climb. That one does. But it's just, if they have tattoos, if they have tags on them, it is so much easier to identify the animal and return them to their home. Otherwise, they sit inside the facility for days on end. Just want to emphasize the importance of licensing. And that kind of concludes the first quarter report from Bylaw.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yep.
So you said you have 6 dogs, right? Where do we find them to know that we can adopt them? Because they used to be on the city website, right?
Yeah, most of them do get on there. If we've found them a home, or if a rescue's kind of reached out right away, and that includes surrenders, because if an animal's surrendered, it's available to be adopted right away. We'll take them off the website just so that they're not being bombarded or wanting to be seen or wanting to be adopted. If we found them a new home, we'll get them a new home.
But just on the regular, because there's no animals on the website right now at all. Or like I've seen them on social media, but when we did our new website, did that get? Can we check into that maybe?
None are on there. One is quarantined.
Okay.
One was picked up an hour before I got here.
Okay.
And then the other 4 are ready to be packaged
Okay.
up and sent off to the rescue.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, yes, they do.
They
get posted
typically
on the
are on
website.
here. Okay. I was
Probably by tomorrow morning, you'll see at least one, if it doesn't go home tonight.
Yeah, I was looking for a new dog. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. Any questions on bylaw? No. Just when you're doing your traffic, I have seen it posted or your lessons. I've seen it posted quite often of people parking in front of Just Be There on the crosswalk, and they put people's pictures of their car parked there. So maybe reminding people that it's a crosswalk would be great.
We don't get, unfortunately, we don't get those calls. And
Yeah.
I see them when I sit at home and scroll through Facebook. But yeah, I've given the guys a heads up to watch for the crosswalks and try and be on top of it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Doyle?
No, Your Worship, that concludes Public Safety Committee's first quarter reports.
Thank you. We have no old business. We will therefore adjourn council at 7:29 p.m. and we will move right into committee. I'll call committee to order at 7:29 p.m. Finance, Legislative and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Finance, Legislative and Property Committee has no report in committee this evening. I do want to just give a brief report. I did attend on behalf of Mayor and Council on Friday, April 25th, the kickoff of the Tim Horton Smile Cookie Week in support of the Family Resource Center, and I was pleased to be there. They do such great work, and hopefully people take advantage of that. It's a great cause, and hopefully go down there and get your cookies. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Worship. City Planning Economic Development Committee has nothing to report other than we did have a half a dozen small cookies today. So good job there, Councillor Massey. It was through your post that I remembered it was there. So unless there's anything else underneath my portfolio, that's the end of my report.
Excellent. Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor SB.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Community Services Committee has nothing to report unless one of my council colleagues has something related to community services.
Anyone? Councillor Nichols.
I can report this under community service if you so wish. Councillor Espy, I had the honor of attending the Highway Community Kitchen Easter lunch the other day, and it was inviting. It was wonderful food, the turkey and the homemade dressing, and I got to speak to a number of folks there, and I really enjoyed that lunch invite on behalf of the city. And with that, that's what I'd like to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to mention under community that I attended the Mom's Prom that was hosted by the Family Resource Center. And I got to crown the 2025 Mom Prom Queen, which is Shannon DeFridas. And this was just a wonderful event to celebrate women in general. So thanks, Melissa Morrison. That was a lot of fun. That was had by all.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll maybe add on to here is just I attended yesterday the Manitoba Horticulture Association garden party. They held it in Portage la Prairie, even though they don't have any member groups here in Portage. They held it here because they gave out an award. There'll be a whole article on our media, but to a gentleman named Rick Durand, who is a former Portager, who is a researcher, horticulturist, researcher, etc. But he was involved in many things that were in our city, such as the beginning of the bike path on Crescent Lake, the arboretum, is that the right word? Arboretum, yeah. In the park, as well as the Yellow Quill Trail or Yellow Quill track at Yellow Quill School. So those are some main things. So it was nice, and he had good things to say about coming back to Portage and seeing some of the changes. One comment I said to him was, I found it very interesting when I got onto council and we were talking about the path around Crescent Lake and reading and hearing about the opposition there was to that, of people who didn't want it to happen. And I said to him, all it taught me about being on council was without opposition, there's no progress. So sometimes when we're making decisions and we're hearing that, we know that we have to move forward. So I can't believe anybody was opposed to it, but that's the way it goes. Thank you. Okay. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing to report in committee unless any of my colleagues would like to speak to their wonderful water.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation is nothing to report, but just would like to throw out that reminder that yard waste collection began today, and this will continue on for 4 collection cycles. Just have your yard waste in clear or compostable brown bags, please, and have those out on your curb no later than 7 in the morning on your regular collection day. So all we want to see in these bags is leaves, grass, and garden waste. We don't want no tree trimming, please. And on that note, we have a great compost pile, so you can drop off your yard waste there if you so choose as well. Please take your compost out of the bags and discard those bags in the garbage containers at the site. In other words, don't drop your bags off. Please empty them and take them with you. You might could reuse them again, or there is a garbage can there you can throw them in. So it's pretty easy peasy, and the tree trimmings and the branches go to the tree site, and that's on your way out to the Southport. And for more information on those areas, just see the city site for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to comment on the compost site and the tree site. In the last few weeks, I've had a number of comments or calls from individuals, and not our city staff or our city team, who should be the ones complaining about it, but it's from citizens who are going there and seeing the misuse of those areas and the disarray that they're in. I think it's important to remind citizens that when they're not using those places correctly, all that does is it means it's more work for our city team, right? So in one breath, I get a call saying, when are they coming to clean my street, or when are they coming to do this? And your response has to be, well, when they're done finishing up the compost site, because people have left things that they shouldn't be leaving there. So I think it's a great reminder for people that there's rules in those places, and if they don't understand them, they're all on our website. But just to be respectful of them, because it just causes more work for our city team. Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing I would like to mention is that this coming Saturday, May the 3rd, starting at 10 a.m., there is a bike auction at the fire hall, and this is a fundraiser for the Firefighters Burn Fund. So it's always a big event every year. So if you are looking for a bike, or if you just like a good auction, stop by the fire hall on Saturday morning. It will start at 10 a.m. And that is it for my report, unless anyone has anything else to add.
Great. Just two things. So just to thank you, the Portage la Prairie Manitoba Harm Reduction Network, they held a community cleanup today from 1 to 3. So that was done. They went around and cleaned up. Also, on Friday evening, I had the opportunity to go out with the Bear Patrol, and so our Bear Clan, and they do a regular Friday night patrol, and there was, I don't know, 10 of us or something, that we went around and did the downtown area, cleaning up spaces, talking to people, handing out water, granola bars, that sort of thing. It was the first time I had done it, and it was great. I recommend everyone else on council to take the time. It's no more than a couple hours out of your evening, but it's a great way to connect with the community and get a good understanding. I think the biggest thing that I want to comment from that is we've had concerns in the downtown area with a number of businesses, right, who hadn't been keeping their areas clean, or bins, that sort of thing. Those issues are taken care of. They are doing their best. The Bear Clan says they've seen a real change in those businesses and how they're taking care of things themselves. And so, of course, there was regular garbage, regular whatever, but they've seen a real change in the last month or so on some of those. So kudos to them. We'll make sure that we keep thanking them for that, because it's important that we do. Yeah, they did a great job. So maybe the other thing is Mary, do you have something going on?
We do have beautification days on right now. So we started April 15th and we're running for a full month this year because we had such an early spring. So if you need free supplies, we have bags and gloves, and all you have to do is call the office. So we can do that on pretty short notice too. We supported the Harm Reduction Network with some supplies too. And the schools are always involved, and some other people too. So we would love to see more community cleanups. It's been really windy, so I've noticed a little bit more garbage, and PCRC crew always goes out. And yeah, so register your cleanup and you could win a prize.
Awesome. I picked up a full garbage bag on Saskatchewan Avenue today that was from the wind. It was not somebody's purposely done, so all we can help is good. Anything else, anybody? Nope. We will adjourn our meeting at 7:40 p.m. and wait with bated breath